I think a lot of us are living life in a way that we don't necessarily want to live in. And I see this as a big problem because there is the possibility of living the life that you truly want to live. It is possible, just like it's possible for anybody else who wants to do it. So today, I want to talk a little bit about how to turn your emptiness into ecstasy so life can actually be exciting and you can accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish. I don't think it's exclusive to anybody. It really doesn't matter where you come from. I'm not sure about you, but I just find it absolutely interesting how life is really just this one big story. And every story has characters, it has significant moments, it has these details that we never forget, these feelings and emotions that we feel. All of these different things make up our life and our story and how we think about ourselves, how we think about our past, how we think about our present, and how we think about our future. Now, the question is, what story are you telling yourself? And is that story aligning with your realization or your actualization of the lifestyle that you truly want to live? Is your story getting in the way of you, or is it supporting what you're doing? Because for me personally, I lived a life where I was so focused on just achieving that I was not taking into consideration all of the things that were happening in my life. Dealing with loss is something that I delayed the grieving process because I was so focused on just trying to achieve. And I think that that is really dangerous because let me tell you, for me personally, I thought that I was saving time when I was actually wasting it. When my father passed away, it did not make sense to me. And I felt like just sitting in silence or allowing myself to feel those feelings for longer than, I don't know, say 15, 20 minutes wasn't useful in me making progress. And oftentimes I would think about like what my dad would think, like, I want to make him proud and I want him to, see that I'm still achieving things while he's gone. So it's not like I had this toxic mindset towards it, like, oh, I don't want to think about it or I don't want to process it. But I was subconsciously avoiding the processing of it. All that time that I spent trying to achieve was coming from this effort that wasn't wholehearted. It's kind of difficult for me to explain this. The best way I can put it is the moment that I feel like I actually took the time to process his loss and to actually hone in on it and allow it and accept it is the key word. The moment that I actually gave myself permission to accept it, I felt like I could actually fulfill my purpose, which is catered towards his loss. By me avoiding the processing of it, I felt like I was delaying that magic that could be. If you lose somebody in your life, it's difficult to process it, one, but you really just want to make them proud. And you often hear how they wouldn't want you to be sad. They would want you to keep on going. But at the same time, for your own mental health, doing that and just avoiding it and going on and acting like as if nothing happened is dangerous as well. What this did for me is I noticed some weird things coming out of my character. And I realized that a lot of those things that were toxic traits that I wasn't really happy about stemmed from this feeling of being lost. And I think that feeling of feeling lost came from the lack of processing things. Let's switch it up to a different example. Maybe this will be more tangible. Let's say you go through a bad breakup. What's her name? Let's say you had a relationship with a girl named Laura. Laura ends up cheating on you and she fucks you up. When the breakup happens, you tell yourself, you know what? I'm not going to let this phase me. I'm going to keep on going on, keep on keeping on, and I'm going to act as if nothing happened. That is the easy route. I've been there before. Trust me, I get it. It's easy to just be like, fuck this. I'm going to keep on going, whatever. What happens though? You go to a nearby deli and you are just living your life. Let's say it's a month after the breakup. You run into a stranger and you accidentally bump shoulders with her And thankfully she like is lighthearted enough to laugh it off, but you catch interest. You're kind of like, wow, this girl's kind of cute. And so you're like, let me ask her for her number. All right. And you find out that this girl's name is Alyssa. She ends up agreeing to go on a date with you. Y'all go on a date and things are going great. Y'all are entering the honeymoon phase. There's nothing that could be better. Then a couple months go by. The honeymoon phase is over. And there's one day that y'all are hanging out, but you catch her doing something that you never would have expected. She's texting another guy. Immediately, your first reaction is to reflect back on what Laura did. And out of fear and out of wanting to protect yourself, you start freaking out because all you can think of is Alyssa is cheating on me, just like Laura did. So you react, you let this toxic side of you come out. You start acting really ugly. You start cussing, throwing things around. How could you do this to me, Alyssa? How dare you? I thought you were a good one. This whole time, Alyssa was just texting a classmate and they were working on a project together. She wasn't cheating on you, dude. She wasn't going to either. They were just talking about a project they were working on. And a lot of times we can live our lives in reactive mode, replaying stories from our past that aren't useful. Alyssa was never going to cheat on you. She was actually going to be a great partner. And now you potentially self-sabotage a relationship. Alyssa doesn't care about you anymore. She sees this ugly side of you and realizes she doesn't want to spend her life with you. So there goes a beautiful relationship, all because you didn't take the time to process what happened to you in the past. Had I, or you in this figurative scenario, processed that story that happened to you in the past, you would have realized, okay, not all girls are cheaters. Not all women are going to hide things from me. So when we take the time to process things, it actually helps us move forward in a helpful manner. It actually helps us move forward with a positive, healthy mind in a way that you can process new events in a way that will support the dream life or your future that you're trying to design for yourself. This is kind of like a woo-woo topic. So hopefully these stories are kind of giving you something tangible to feed off of. But really my point here is that if there's something in your life that you're avoiding, it's too difficult to think about, so it's easier for you to just brush it under the rug. You have to realize that that is dangerous. That is more dangerous than you actually setting aside the time to grieve the loss, to consider what happened to you in your past relationships. Everything is happening for you in a sense that it's shaping you as an individual. It doesn't mean that you're incapable of designing a future for yourself. It just means that you're learning through the process and you're able to grow through the process so that when life hands you even more difficult situations in the future, you actually have a solution for it. And if we don't take the time to process these events, whatever it is, life will shape our story for us. Meaning if we don't take that pen back and rewrite our story in a way that helps us design our future, other characters will shape our future for us. Unhelpful feelings will shape our future for us. And all of these things are predicated off of our past and our perceptions of the past. So to solve this situation, to solve this problem, set aside time to reflect. Take the time to think about what has happened in the past. Take the time to journal about your past, to write down the things, to write a letter to your younger self. You do this enough over time, you start to realize that nothing can phase you. Nothing can phase the future that you have for yourself, or at least that you see for yourself. But it starts with you picking up that pen and rewriting your story and realizing that you are the author. Not all these other people, they're just part of your story. You know, my entire upbringing, I really chose the easy route. Going back to my childhood, I always looked up to my sisters for what action to take next. So like, for example, 2 of my sisters played the trumpet. So did I. One of my sisters decided to go to Sam Houston State University, which was in the same town that I grew up in, Huntsville, Texas. So did I. She also studied business, more specifically accounting. So whenever I first entered college, what did I do? I signed up for accounting, and I was really seeking what was familiar. I ended up changing my degree to a major in finance and a minor in marketing. But it wasn't up until college that I started to actually think about the life that I wanted to live. It was really when I started to pick up photography and videography, filmmaking. And so I was actually starting to shape my future how I wanted it to. But for the rest of my life up until that point, I did not shape it at all. And it was probably because I was too distracted playing video games as a young kid. So I was just like searching for the easy route. Oh, I guess I'll go to this school because my sister did. Oh, I guess I'll play this instrument. Oh, I guess I'll study that. When really, I should have picked up the pen a long time ago. But there's nothing I can do about that, right? That's part of this whole processing thing, is realizing that there's nothing you can change about the past. It's only you analyzing the past and thinking about how you can maybe reflect on what you could have done differently. That way, when you're moving forward, you are making decisions from a solid ground. You've already considered what is good, what is bad, based off of your past experiences. It's almost like playing a football game. A coach is not going to just go to the next game. They're going to watch back the tape. They're going to analyze what we could have done differently and why we may have lost based upon what play we decided to do or what position was where. It really is important to look back at that footage, to look back on your highlight reel or your lifetime, your timeline. It's not that we want to go back and change things. It's just so that we can analyze and make better decisions moving forward. It also helps you make decisions more from a proactive stance as opposed to a reactive stance. And we all know when we're in a reactive mode, we do not make the best decisions for ourselves. The last thing you want to do is sabotage all of your future opportunities, whether it be for relationships, your career, or your friendships, your family. You don't want to sabotage that stuff because there's beautiful things coming in the future. I don't care what has happened to you. There is always something coming that is beautiful. And don't get me wrong, there's always going to be some sort of hiccup where we're going to have to experience hardship. But realize this. There is not a great story that does not involve conflict. No great story is just easygoing, no hardship, no conflict. There's a reason for that. Because if everything were handed to us, nothing would be meaningful. We gain our sense of meaning based upon our hardships, what we've been through and what we've overcome. That's why I believe that no matter what happens in life, life is happening for you, not to you. So think about the future that you want for yourself. What is going to help you design that future? When I realized that I needed to actually process the loss of my father and my stepfather, I allowed myself to think about it more often, to live my life with them in mind. And it's not like I wasn't doing that in the past, but I was just clouding it with this obsession of achievement, which was actually clouding my ability to achieve because I wasn't processing things. I was just living myself in this vicious cycle of not myself. So if you feel like you're just not yourself right now, it's probably because you haven't reflected on the things that have happened. Me and my girlfriend were watching this show recently, and I'm not going to explain the whole storyline, but basically the realization I had from it is that, sometimes when traumatic things happen, our subconscious mind does everything it can to forget about it because it thinks that it's helping us. We have to take the agency back and realize that, no, we need to sit here for a sec. We got to process this. If we don't process this, it's going to get ugly in the future. The ego is going to take over, right? I think that's really what was happening is, don't process it. Just focus on achievement. That's the ego talking. And although the ego is doing everything it can to protect you, it can get out of hand just like anything else. So we have to understand what that balance looks like and understand when we need to set aside time for solitude. And a lot of people I feel like a lot of people are afraid of solitude because they're afraid of what might come up. But as you know, the only way to grow is through discomfort, through the struggle. And if you don't lean into the struggle, you rob yourself of the resolution. I'll say that again. If you write your story and you avoid the struggle, you abandon the ability to find the resolution that's going to help you design the lifestyle that you truly want. If you continue doing that, you'll become best friends just like I did with stress, anxiety, self-doubt. I don't want to say depression, but like just feeling just lost and confused and down, and not like prescribed clinical depression, but just really feeling like life is empty. I promise you the first step to solving any of your conflicts in your life starts with reflection. No matter what, reflection is always the first, because you have to gain the awareness. If you don't gain the awareness, you won't have any sort of back talk to your triggers. So if you have a trigger towards something negative, like Laura cheating on you, you won't have the awareness to say, oh, that's just a trigger. It's not real life, dude. That's just you reliving the past. Maybe wait on that response, be proactive instead of reactive, and make your decisions from a healthy state of mind. So start with reflection. And as long as you do this, you set aside time intentionally. I don't care if you have to set a timer for next Saturday when there's nothing on your schedule. Set a timer, set a schedule, put it in your calendar. Time for self. Because if you do this, you set aside that 30 minutes, even though it feels like, oh, I don't want to put aside 30 minutes. I'd rather watch Netflix or something. That's the easy route. And you don't realize that by doing that, you're robbing yourself of designing the future that you want. But if you do take those 30 minutes, you do set aside that time, and you do set an area of no distractions with boundaries where you are just there to work on yourself, I promise you, you will be able to design the future that you want, because you'll find missing clues, you'll find answers, you'll find all of these different keys to success, to self-actualization, to self-belief, the belief in yourself. And you'll be able to recognize when self-sabotage arises. Anytime you recognize when self-sabotage arises, because I'm telling you, nobody goes about this life without self-doubt. Nobody goes about this life without any sort of fears. It's about the response, the reaction to the trigger, not the trigger itself, the reaction to the trigger. And the only way to set that trigger in place is to gain the awareness to what has happened to you in your lifetime and how you responded, and maybe what you could have done differently, so that you can grow, so that you can attract the things in your life that you truly want, so you can actually stay committed to those promises that you have to yourself, so you can find your confidence again, so you can actually believe in the future, so you can actually feel like, yes, this future that I want is completely possible. I am perfectly capable of doing it. It doesn't matter what has happened to me in my past. I can do whatever I want in my lifetime. A lot of people make the bad decision of doing the thing that isn't supporting them. You know, we seek pleasure, we seek these distractions, all these different things to distract ourselves from the misery that is happening inside because we are not reflecting. So create solitude for yourself. Be mindful. Be mindful of what's going on up here. Be mindful of that response you have to your triggers. As long as you do that, you set aside the time to reflect and you become aware of the triggers that are happening so that you can come up with a response to those triggers, so you don't self-sabotage your relationship with Alyssa, so you don't self-sabotage a future that you really want for yourself and end up on your deathbed thinking, what the fuck did I do with my life? And it starts with you picking up the pen to your paper and telling yourself, I'm the author of my own story. One thing that has truly helped me become the author of my own story is gaining clarity, gaining the awareness, designing systems for myself so that I can step out of my own self-sabotage. So if you feel like you're dealing with self-sabotage and you are lacking clarity and structure in your life, I just finished creating this free guide. I want you to check it out. It's completely free. I want to say it's about 16 or 17 pages of all the systems that I think that anyone who wants to design a meaningful future for themselves should start with. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave a link in the description. Go check it out. But hopefully you can see from today's podcast that this stuff is extremely important to me. I'm very passionate about this topic, and I think more people should become aware of their potential. That is my purpose, is to help you realize that you are full of potential. You are fully capable of doing whatever it is that you want to do with your life. It starts by gaining clarity, and it starts by creating systems. So go check that out. Quick bit about the Mind Design newsletter. Every Saturday, you'll receive a message just like this one today, because I want you to show up to be the best version of yourself, and I want you to realize that you have all the potential it takes to do whatever you want. Thank you again for listening to this podcast, and I'm so excited to see you on the next one. Talk to you soon. Bye.